Doctor Who and the Silurians is the second ever serial with a third Doctor, putting us just under halfway into Jon Pertwee's first season, and so far it's going really well because this is quite a solid episode. Also, apparently this episode was originally intended to be called The Silurians, but because of a mistake was called Doctor Who and the Silurians, so who knows what it's really called, call it whatever you like. And in terms of second stories for the Doctor, I would put this one above both the Daleks and the Highlanders. It's really solid. Firstly, Jon Pertwee is good in this one. It's his second serial, and he's already fitting into the role very well. He feels very much like the character already, and I like the Doctor that he's becoming. This man plays up the sophistication and dashiness of the role. It's actually a little bit hard to describe, but I'm just really liking the way that he's portraying this incarnation of the character, and I look forward to talking about what we get from him throughout his following seasons. I've also been enjoying Liz Shaw as his companion. I think she's basically a better version of Zoe because she is an intelligent scientist, but she's not as inconsistent as Zoe. There's only really one point in the story where she's a screaming companion that's kind of helpless, but also, for the sake of the story, she couldn't have fought back because, well, that actually would have resulted in her death. But yeah, she does have some personality to her, and I am enjoying the character, but I do wish she was a little bit more involved in the stories because sometimes she is left to the side as the Doctor goes off and does things. And the Brigadier is working well in this one. He's a little bit more lighthearted than he has been, but he still has that military mindset that he's always had, and he does make a choice in this story that I wasn't happy with, but I still understand it, and it feels justified coming from that character, even if the thing he did was in no way ever justified. This one actually starts out with quite a bit of a mystery to it. There's these two people in caves, one of them dies and the other one goes crazy. Actually, very crazy. In fact, he's not the only one by those caves getting affected, so something is going on and it's not clear exactly what, and we'll come back to this later. So I imagine most people watching this video are aware of who the Silurians are, and if you aren't, then I recommend you stop watching this video now. But if you are, then let's keep discussing this story. So I really like how the Silurians are used in this one. They're handled quite well. They all have different personalities and dynamics with each other, so they feel like a real group of people as opposed to, say, the Daleks or the Cybermen, who all act the same and feel mostly the same, with some exceptions. And that worked well for this story and what they were going for, so I really did like that. And I also just love the idea of a species living underground that was here before us. That to me is just a great idea, and it is used very well here. I also significantly prefer this design of the Silurians to their New Who design because the New Who one just feels and looks a bit too human for me, but these ones look distinctly different, and while they're humanoid, their faces have a little bit of a different structure, and their body movements feel a little bit different, and they're just more believable as, not humans, and they help to add to that dynamic of us versus them with the humans versus the Silurians that this story goes for. I also really like the Doctor's role in this story because for a lot of it, he's just trying to prevent the Silurians and humans from fighting, and he goes to great lengths to keep that from happening and to give the Silurians the opportunity to live on the surface with the humans. So at this point, I am going to be diving deep into spoilers for this episode, so please skip to this time shown on screen if you want to avoid those, and if you're sticking with me, then let's keep discussing. There's this really fantastic moment when the Doctor first meets the Silurian at the beginning of episode 4, which I just love.
Hello. Are you a Silurian?
I love that moment because it comes right after a cliffhanger, and that's just not the way that I expected it to be picked up from a cliffhanger at all. And it's such a Doctor moment, and I just loved it. At the end of the serial, the Doctor manages to trick the Silurians into going back into hibernation, and his plan is to come back the next day with scientists and such, and awaken the Silurians one by one, convincing them to join the world and incorporate them into society. Unfortunately, the Doctor's plan is not able to come to fruition because the Brigadier decides to murder the Silurians without a moment's hesitation, which is really messed up and such a horrible and truly disgusting thing to do, to just murder them like that. It's absolutely messed up. But that's the military for you. Shoot first, ask questions later. And I really liked the way the story showed the fault of that military mentality, and I thought it was handled very well. Also, the Doctor's reaction to that explosion was chilling.
But that's murder. They were intelligent alien beings. A whole race of them. He's just wiped them out.
Yeah, Jon Pertwee plays that scene really well. The last thing I wanted to touch on was the way that people were going insane, the mystery that was set up, which I don't think was ever really resolved. I was watching the whole story and I was engaged and focused, so I don't really know what happened with that. I tried skimming back through the episode and I couldn't find it. I skimmed through the script and I couldn't find it. And I did find something on Wikipedia that kind of explained this thing that, to me, I didn't find an explanation for in the actual episode, where it says, Spencer succumbed to race memories of Silurians. And then I looked into it a little bit further and read that ancestral memory, also known as race memory, was a memory of racial history present at birth in an individual. This resulted from an event repeated enough times that it was incorporated into a species' genome. And finally it said, some humans also had an ancestral fear of Silurians, causing mental breakdowns. So that was the best explanation that I was able to find for that mystery, but I didn't actually see it during the serial, but it's possible I spaced out for 30 seconds without realizing it. If this is something that is actually specified within the episode and I'm just dumb and missed it, then be sure to let me know, because if that's true, then it's definitely my fault. Overall, The Silurians was a really solid and engaging story in Jon Pertwee's first season. This one handles the issues it's dealing with really well and introduces us to the Silurians, which are utilized in such a great way. The Doctor and Liz are really good in this one, and the Brigadier works well for what he's supposed to be doing here, and this story kept me captivated for all 7 parts without letting my attention wander, and I'm going to give Doctor Who and the Silurians a strong rating of 8.25 out of 10. And that's going to do it for now, folks. If you join me again this upcoming Sunday, then I will have a review out for The Ambassadors of Death, an episode I have already seen and naturally have thoughts on. If you want to let me know your thoughts on this episode down below, then be sure to do that. But if you don't want to do either of those things, that is absolutely fine, so long as you know that I appreciate your time here today. And with that said, I hope to see you around soon. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and have a lovely week.